I went on and did the 10 at 10, and I asked him, he asked me 10 questions about nothing, and I asked him 10 questions about stealing Conan's job from him. and then I did not get a call the next day.
Jay Leno spent more than 2 decades as the anchor of late-night television, hosting The Tonight Show through ratings wars, network shakeups, and more than a few behind-the-scenes battles the public only caught glimpses of. But one relationship defined the messier side of his career more than any other: his long, uncomfortable, and very public friction with Jimmy Kimmel. It started in NBC boardrooms and spilled out onto live television and in front of millions. And today, we're getting into the full story of why Jay Leno has said Jimmy Kimmel humiliated him and why that tension took years to fully resolve. Before we dive in, drop a comment below. During the whole Tonight Show shakeup, were you on Team Leno or Team Conan? The Letterman Shadow.
He was a huge Letterman guy.
Yes.
And when Letterman didn't get to Tonight Show, somehow it was my fault. And I think he resented that, and I get that.
To understand what happened between Leno and Kimmel, you need to start further back than most people think. The roots go all the way to 1992, when NBC chose Jay Leno over David Letterman to succeed Johnny Carson. Letterman had been a monster hit at 12:30, and much of the comedy world believed he was the obvious heir. NBC had other ideas, and Leno got the chair. Kimmel was firmly in the Letterman camp, and as Leno put it, somehow it was his fault. In Kimmel's view, Leno was simply sitting where Letterman should have been all along. NBC's reasoning was straightforward from a business standpoint. They had 2 hits running back-to-back and didn't want to disturb either. Jeff Zucker later confirmed that keeping Letterman at 12:30 and Leno at 11:30 was always the priority. But business logic doesn't settle old scores in comedy. Kimmel aligned himself with Letterman and, according to Leno, also embedded himself in the Howard Stern world, a culture where you identify an enemy, build the conflict, and work it. Leno believed Kimmel carried that instinct straight into late night with him, and that it shaped how their relationship developed from the very beginning. The 10 o'clock gamble.
Zucker called me one day and said, "I think we made a mistake." I go, "Guys, I'm out of here next year," or whenever it was. And he said, "Well, suppose we gave you a show at 10 o'clock. I said, 10 o'clock talk shows don't work.
By 2009, things at NBC had grown complicated. Leno had agreed to hand The Tonight Show to Conan O'Brien years earlier after Conan's team pushed for a firm commitment. Rather than lose his entire staff in the transition, Leno accepted NBC's offer of a primetime talk show at 10 o'clock. The network's logic was that a talk show cost a fraction of what expensive dramas were running them and would yield comparable numbers. Leno went in skeptical. He'd said more than once that 10 o'clock talk shows had a rough history, and the ratings confirmed it. The Jay Leno show struggled, and so did Conan's version of The Tonight Show. NBC was suddenly sitting on 2 underperforming time slots. Then Zucker came back with a new proposal: a half hour at 11:30 if Conan would shift to midnight. Conan declined, wrote his now famous letter, and walked. Leno was reinstated, whether he had campaigned for it or not. Much of the industry didn't see it that way, and he absorbed most of the blame for a situation that was far more complicated behind the scenes. That was the climate when Jimmy Kimmel walked onto his set in 2010, live and unedited.
Yeah, you know, everybody makes a big deal. You know, when Kimmel came on my show and humiliated me on my own show, I let it happen. I didn't edit it. It was my mistake. I trusted somebody. I went, I made a mistake. Okay, I should pay the price. And it's fine. It's fine. I mean, we could have edited it out of the show.
Why didn't you?
Well, because it happened. It's real. It happened. It's my mistake.
The 2010 Tonight Show interview became one of the most discussed moments in late night history. Leno, back in the host chair, asked Kimmel to talk about his best prank. Kimmel's answer came fast. He said he once told a guy he'd give him his show in 5 years, and when the time came, he handed it over, then took it back almost instantly. The audience understood immediately. Leno didn't stop it. He didn't redirect, didn't cut to commercial, and when the show aired, the exchange was in it. He had every opportunity to pull it. When asked about it later, he was direct. He let it happen because the Conan situation was real and had actually happened. Pretending otherwise didn't feel right to him. As he put it, it wasn't good TV for him because it started something that continued for years, but it was real, and he accepted that. The clip traveled everywhere and became the defining image of their rivalry. Kimmel landing the sharpest punch in late night on Leno's own stage, with Leno sitting right there. The mean streak argument.
Hi,
everybody. Welcome to The Tonight Show. Thanks for coming. Beautiful day today, wasn't it? Oh, man, back east, man, what a heat wave. In fact, it was so hot in Washington, even Al Gore's presidential campaign was starting to heat up. Whew, that's so hot. In fact, it was so hot in D.C., Hillary Clinton now talking about running for the Senate in Alaska. Yeah.
In the years that followed, Leno returned to the same critique of Kimmel repeatedly, and it always centered on the same idea. The essential ingredient in late-night success, he argued, was kindness. Not softness, kindness. Audiences can feel the difference between warmth and edge, and he believed a mean streak had a ceiling. He pointed to the Halloween candy bit as a concrete example, the annual segment where parents pretend to have eaten their kids' candy and film the tearful fallout. Leno acknowledged it worked as a joke, but called it mean-based and questioned why it had become such a celebrated recurring segment. It was a small example, but it illustrated his broader point. He also circled back to the radio background as an explanation. His argument was that stand-up comedy forces you to read a live audience in real time and adjust. Radio gives you a microphone and a remove that lets you push further without feeling the friction. Leno believed Kimmel had never fully shed that instinct and that it was costing him in the ratings. A phone call that changed things.
I called Jimmy Kimmel and I said, I'm getting offers from ABC. I don't want to start a whole thing here. If they're talking to put me on 11:30, would you want to go on at 12:30? I think he said, yeah, he'd like to. I said, oh, okay. We became friends. And then that didn't happen, and it became public. And I suppose I should have called Jimmy and explained to him again, but I didn't.
One lesser-known chapter involves a moment when Leno and Kimmel actually came close to working together. After Leno left The Tonight Show for good, he was fielding network offers, including from ABC. He called Kimmel directly, just as he described, not wanting to start a whole thing, and floated the idea. If Leno took an 11:30 slot at ABC, would Kimmel consider moving to 12:30? According to Leno, Kimmel said yes. The deal never materialized, and Leno later admitted he should have followed up with Kimmel when it fell through. He didn't make that call. He acknowledged Kimmel may have felt dismissed by the silence, and he offered an apology, saying plainly that he still didn't fully understand why he hadn't picked up the phone. The real turning point came in 2017 when Kimmel's infant son needed emergency heart surgery. Leno called him. No agenda, no press, just one person reaching out to another during an awful time. Kimmel later said the gesture changed everything and that it was the reason he made peace with Leno. Whatever the Tonight Show years had broken open, that phone call quietly closed it. Now it's time to hear from you. During everything that went down with Leno, Conan, and NBC, do you think Jay was unfairly blamed for how it all played out? Or did he have more of a hand in it than he's admitted? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.